morning, everybody. Jane Cormier here. I am subbing for the great Ray Dudley here on New Hampshire Unscripted. He's taking a little break, so you're stuck with Jane. Usually my show's Artful Living, but you know what? I can go across. I can do many things. I love sports, I love politics, and I love the entertainment and art world. So I love the fact that I can get a little bit of a different take with these shows with Ray. And we want to give a shout out to Hillsborough Big Dog Sauce, right? They are a sponsor here for New Hampshire Unscripted, and we thank them for being with us. And WKXL 1450 AM. I got to get the call numbers in. 103.9 FM Concord and 101.9 FM in Manchester, NewHampshireTalkRadio.com. We have a great guest today, a gentleman who is full of energy, and I love the energy. It's AJ Kierstead, and he is actually one of our hosts for New England Take, right here on WKXL, who, by the way, 80 years old, guys, this year. Mamma mia. And AJ, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have fun.
Awesome.
This is going to be a fun talk. And so, AJ, tell our listeners, if they haven't listened to your show, tell us a little bit about what happens on New England Take.
Yeah, so the New England Take has been around since 2021. Started here at the station. It's formatted more like a podcast and YouTube channel where it's like 30 straight minutes where we will talk about, it could be an interview with someone that's in the nature of politics, policy, or news, something going on in that world. Just 30 minutes about bouncing things off of them. Could be a politician, could be someone in politics, could be someone related to a news story that's happening then and there.
Sure.
And sometimes it's also just opinion. We just analyze what's going on. I've got a regular contributor, Dexter Tarbox, who joins me frequently. Sometimes it's just me ranting into the microphone, into the void, giving my opinion. It's a center-right leaning show. I give fair analysis to both sides.
Right.
It's something that's really missing, I think, from the dialogue is,
oh my gosh,
why do the people who I think are crazy feel the way that they feel? It's for a reason. It didn't come out of nowhere.
Imagine that.
Yeah, exactly. and it's something that I think should be taken into the dialogue in modern media.
That's the whole reason that we're in such a problem these days, is because people are loath to really try to think, where are they coming from?
Exactly.
It doesn't mean you agree with it, but you certainly can try to understand it. You know, that lends that conversation to be a whole lot smoother.
It's a side effect of social media and cable news.
Yeah.
It's entirely what it comes down to. You need to be able to get your soundbite or your tweet or whatever it may be, and it's got to be politically charged in order for it to feed the algorithm or get people's attention.
Right,
so
right. Make it emotional.
Exactly. It's entirely based on emotions. I don't care what aisle is. Everyone's a snowflake when it comes down to their pet thing that they're into.
Of course.
And they're going to freak out about it. So it's like, I mean, to be fair, I love making YouTube thumbnails. If I can be as sarcastic and joking and put something silly with fire behind it, I do it on YouTube because it gets people to click.
Yeah.
Once they get in, it's because you got to play the game. But as soon as they get in, I'm hoping they're finding a fair conversation. I've had good feedback that them doing a decent job.
Well, I don't know you well, but I know we've had a couple of conversations recently, and I have been, really impressed by the fact that you're not only well-versed, which is really important, folks.
Yeah.
No matter who we listen to, the person that's giving us the information should be well-versed about that topic.
Yeah.
But you also have an open energy, which means that you can talk passionately about something, but it doesn't come through partisan. Yeah. And I think we miss that a lot. We think that because we get excited, right, we can get labeled. But that's just the passion that comes out. It's what's really being said that's really important.
Yeah, and the nature of kind of my personal mission with it a little bit is to play politics a bit. I have my opinions. I'm a libertarian conservative leaning guy, like minimal government, personal liberties, things of that nature.
Small as it can get.
Small as humanly possible should be the mission by far. But I want to be able to push the dialogue in a certain direction.
Sure.
And the only way to really do that is to bring people into the circle.
Yeah.
It's this weird thing where I'm becoming more and more wanting to push this because it's like we just said, it's come down to a lot of everyone needs to push this singular mission for whatever the issue of the day is and push it in the right direction, and that's the way to fix it. And I think that's the polar opposite.
Of course.
It needs to go back to 20 years ago. Say what we will about the neocons and neoliberals, all the warmongering that may have happened, but they at least managed to build our political structure around relationships.
Yes. And
relationships are key. If you don't have a solid working relationship with someone that you disagree with, you're just going to continue to push the extremes of the Overton window further and further away, so nothing can ever get done.
Right.
There needs to be.
Maybe that's the point.
It's 100% the point, because that's how you feed the political structures. Because the parties need money.
And this is a pretty deep conversation here, right? Because it has something I have thought about as a political background a little bit. 10 years ago, right? It's been a long while. I've often wondered if making all of this fuss, and I'm not saying it's just one side, I'm saying on both sides, is actually planned. Do you know what I mean? We're seeing hyperbole flying everywhere on both sides, and the world's going to end, right?
Yeah,
Is it planned?
More or less, yes, because it's everything filters down from national politics.
Right.
So this goes back to 2008, in my opinion, with the Obama election. It's only spiraled out of control since then.
Totally agree.
I don't care whether you agree or disagree with Obama's policies. Honestly, some things are fine. A lot of things are really atrocious, in my personal opinion. But it comes down to he was really pushing us versus them agenda.
Correct.
Yeah, sure, hope during the campaign, but the second he got in office, it was an us versus them thing. And he was frustrated by the nature of the legislative system. It's very well documented that he was frustrated he couldn't get things done. And it's the reason why the ACA was a nightmare to get through, the way he changed around the rules with judges and things of that nature, which the Republicans, guess what, we got to capitalize.
Yeah.
But it was, it's one of those things where the more and more you push in this frustration because you want DC to do
what you want
to do no matter what, to the point where you change the rules, you're going to just drive the narratives further and further because you don't need that compromise anymore.
You're not kidding. The relationships before him, right? Not post him, but before Obama, in politics, I think it did become more divisive a little bit before him. But, when Reagan had, what was the guy? Who was the House of Rep guy? The Boston guy. The Boston representative, and he was friends. They were one Democrat, one Republican.
Well, Newt Gingrich and all that.
He's a Republican.
But he played along with during the Clinton era.
The guy had white hair.
That's
and
all
he was
of
the head. No, it's not. He was a real colorful guy, a real Democrat, and he used to fight with Reagan when he was the president all the time. But you know what? They got along, and they used to joke about how they can, at the end of the day, go get a beer. Yeah.
You talk smack in political theater, but afterwards you call it a day. But now we've gotten to the point where every single person feels like they need to have that political justification that they are then going to take with them 24/7. When no, there is the back room. When after Trump got elected, he sat in the room with Obama, and they got their stuff together. Same with Biden. It's all political theater.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a victim of political theater. Personally, I think people really need to take into consideration that Joe up the street does not agree with you on everything, and that's fine.
I can bring this to another point that's very pertinent, because you did say that this is all generated by the national, the national news, right, or the national politics, I should say. And I think that how you fix this mess is you stop thinking that way and you start going to local.
100%.
Go local.
I push that hard. I push that so hard. I'm constantly yelling that, hey, what's going on underneath the Gold Dome up the street from here is tremendously more important than the very slow movement of whatever DC is going to do.
Right.
DC is not going to fix all your things. So the whole nature of the federalist system that we have in this country is key. If California wants to do some crazy nonsense, they can do their crazy nonsense.
Sure.
we here in New Hampshire do things extraordinarily different than Vermont and Maine and Massachusetts.
Correct.
And guess what? It seems to be working fairly well.
Somewhat is working, right? And we want to keep that.
But yeah, it's like there's a lot of very heated debates and ideology when it comes to education and things of that nature that boils over into some crazy tweets and text messages that get leaked to the press sometimes.
Sure.
But it all comes down to it's us here with our voted representatives, where only 3,300 people are represented by an individual can possibly make progress.
Right. It has the possibility.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a little break here. New Hampshire Unscripted is the show. Jane Cormier, I'm subbing for Ray Dudley today. WKXL 1450 AM, 103.9 FM Concord, and 101.9 FM in Manchester, New Hampshire TalkRadio.com. Stay with us. We're coming back with AJ Kierstead. We're going to talk some more. So hang on there. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day out there. If you're just joining us, this is New Hampshire Unscripted. Ray Dudley is usually the host. Jane Cormier, I'm sitting in for him he's taking a little break, but Ray will be back. We're talking with AJ Kierstead today, who has a show right here on WKXL, New England. I want to say New Hampshire. New England Take. When does that run?
Yeah, Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. I've got a Substack, newenglandtake.com also.
What does that mean for folks out there? You know what? Some of our grayheads like me might not know what that is, so tell us.
Yeah, so a Substack is like it's like basically a newsletter. It's a website front end, but if you want to receive the episodes in your inbox, that's a great way to do it.
You can subscribe and you get the information.
Yes.
That's awesome. But the show here on WKXL, New Hampshire, New England, not New Hampshire. Sorry.
Right.
I want to say New Hampshire so bad.
We talk more than just New Hampshire.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure you do. New England Take here for AJ Kierstead, and that's on Saturdays, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
8:30 a.m.
Awesome possum. And then you can also do his Substack, which I do a couple of Substacks here in New Hampshire because I do focus on local. I think it's fun to talk about national. In the last segment, if you were just joining us now, we talked a little about the national political, spectrum and how it's, full of emotion and not always a real profitable thing for the local citizen to partake in, and how local is the game. And I totally agree with that. Now, here's a question for you, because you're a pretty savvy guy. If I have somebody that's sitting at home listening to us that has a marginal interest in becoming more active locally, the thing that stops them first is they get overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. That is absolutely the first thing. Oh, I saw that and I wanted to do da-da-da-da. But they don't. That's the one thing. What do we do if we want to get involved locally? How can we do that?
Yeah, there's this inherent demand in modern times where you got to have an opinion on absolutely everything. So you got to be able to be prepared to talk on absolutely everything and be out the door. You can't do that. It is impossible.
And that's not true. You shouldn't.
You absolutely do not. It is not your job to have an opinion and be able to step into a situation where you're going to have to answer questions every which way and be the next governor, the next election. Start small.
Yes.
Come up with something that you can actually focus on. Maybe city planning is something. It's either a pet project of yours that you're interested in, or hey, you pay attention to what's going on with development in your town and you're not really sure. Just go to a city council meeting.
There it is.
Just check out a city council meeting. You don't have to worry about what's happening at the state level. Just worry about what's happening in your little community. If you worry about the schools, that's one thing that I will say has been really great to see personally in recent years is school board participation in this country. And it's really angered a lot of people of a certain political persuasion. But hey, this is the people in your community, and you're supposed to be representing the people in your community. Right. Yeah. If they're not happy with something that's going on in the curriculum, you're not happy with something that's going on with the structure of the school, the leadership, things like that, or if you really like something, also, that's just as important to bring to the table to make sure that continues. Find something at the city level, and it doesn't doesn't need to be government.
No.
It could be nonprofit. It could be for me personally, it's youth development. And education. Like, I'm heavily involved with scouting in New Hampshire. Like, I'm involved with 2 units here in my town. The Cubbies, which right now I'm serving as the Cub Master going to be wrapping that up in the next few months because I've got way too much going on. And my son is in the troop, and I'm on the committee there, and I do stuff with them because I really is a program I was in when I was a kid, and I want to make sure that the next generation has this leadership and education that you
So
get.
the passion of what it is that you're interested in probably drives the whole thing. And understanding that going to one meeting is a huge thing to begin, because we can control that and we can see the possibilities once we get there. So the most important thing, and I think that reason that people do not become involved locally, is because they're overwhelmed and they're busy and they think, I could never do it. It's more than I could take on. But that one meeting can make all the difference.
It could be a board of a nonprofit you care about.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, as someone who, in my day job, I end up interacting with a lot of different organizations, and I see the same face over and over again across these organizations. Like, good for him, he wants to be involved, or her.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of other people that could just dedicate an hour a month and maybe a couple hours on the weekend once a month to just say, hey, I care about this. I want to make sure their books are going right. I want to make sure that they have connections to be able to make things happen.
Or I want to just have a voice on that.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, folks, remember that your voice is just as important as everyone else's. And we should never be in a space where the other side of that issue or whatever shuts down your voice.
Yep.
And that doesn't matter where you stand. It goes on both sides there. Be heard. It makes your life better, and it might actually really benefit the discussion.
It could be also just writing a letter to your local newspaper on a regular basis, because it gives some different opinions. If you're just shouting into the void the same thing that everyone else is shouting, that's not
they
really
shut down. I think
contribute in a way that's unique for you. If you like writing, hey, we got all these people that write all day on Facebook and everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's not being constructive to the dialogue. So one of the reasons why I keep doing my show is I want to continue to add to it in a unique way, because I've got a media background. Like, I understand how this end of this stuff. I know what this is, radio and podcasting and things. And I'll occasionally write an op-ed, and I've been very fortunate. The Union Leader and stuff has published a few of my op-eds in the past, but it's not my passion.
Right.
But if you have a passion for something, you love writing all these posts, send it to the paper and just see what happens.
Right. Be active.
Yeah.
Because really, it sounds almost like a catchphrase, but the republic that we have, because we do not have a democracy, we have a republic, and the republic does not function if portions of the structure are inactive. Those portions will become overrun by what do I want to say, attitudes or things that probably might not even be locally driven. It can be overtaken by non-local things. That's why being locally active is so important.
And there's this weird historically inaccurate understanding of how the media works too, where they assume that, hey, back in the 70s we had these newscasters that were above the fray, they were this and that. It's like, no, literally everyone who comes to the media, you go back to the revolutionary days, the revolution was started because of the printing press. Like it was because newspapers in local areas would be pushing either a loyalist or revolutionary idea, and that they would push it out to the people. The media is there to with an opinion, whether they honestly think they have it or not.
Well, that's today. But here's the big difference when I hear that, AJ. I'll push back a little bit.
Yeah.
What I find really important is when we were being founded, when we were founding our nation, those were citizen reporters.
Exactly.
Those were people that had skin in the game where they lived, like live or
100%.
die, skin in the game. To me, that is not at all what we have for press today.
Right.
That has nothing to do with local. A lot of it's nationally driven, and even your local press can be locally driven, right? Well, why does that happen? That happens because we guys that are working and paying our taxes and bringing up our families and are so overwhelmed by the monster that is government that we sit home and we sit on our couch and we might get on Facebook or we might do this, but we're not necessarily in the game.
We've also professionalized the media in a way that's unhealthy, where
Totally.
it became very centralized with certain newspapers and such becoming Walter Cronkite and stuff on TV, like various things like that became the be-all, end-all when it's supposed to be democratized. That's one thing. I think this chaotic situation right now is a transitory period where either it's going to become super democratized even more, and we're going to, as in the next 20 years, as people who stop watching cable news, because eventually that demographic is not going to be paying attention to cable news for various reasons.
They're already now not doing
Exactly. It's already phasing out, but it takes a long time for that to happen.
What do you mean democratized?
Generational. Where you have like what we in New Hampshire, for example, there's like 4 or 5 digital outlets that all do kind of unique things.
Yes.
They have their bent that they do.
The voices will be heard.
There's more voices are able to be heard a lot easier.
And so here's my point when I bring it around. When we founded, we had citizen journalists.
Yeah.
And those were helpful because you did hear both sides, right? People heard both sides. Whatever decision they made, whatever, right? Then we had that monstrosity that we're living through right now. But now, because of technology, we're getting back to citizen.
Yeah, so the whole Substack movement is huge.
That's
for that.
what it is.
It's when you start seeing all these journalists, and a lot of them are hacks, obviously, that basically were fired and say I'm going to go on my own. There's a lot more voices able to be out there.
Right.
You see what Matt Taibbi's done with Substack, with the Twitter files a few years ago, things of that nature.
But people can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it takes nothing. Like, it's free. It's free to get out there and dump stuff out there. And, hey, maybe you'll catch a train that turns it into a career and you're able to take it further. But it's something you can easily do on the side. And, hey, you bring that experience into the media world with what you can bring to the table, as opposed to waiting for everyone else to do it for you.
Absolutely. What you can bring to the table is key. And nobody is going to be able to morph away from this monstrosity until everyday folks like you and I get in the game. And you don't get in the game big. You can get in small because technology can let you do it. All right, we're going to have a little break here. New Hampshire Unscripted. Ray Dudley is usually your host, Jane Cormier. I'm subbing for Ray today. Our guest is AJ Kierstead, NewHampshireTalkRadio.com, WKXL. We will be right back, so stay with us. Hello, everybody. Jane Cormier here. I'm subbing for Ray Dudley here on New Hampshire Unscripted. WKXL 1450 AM, 103.9 FM Concord, and 101.9 FM in Manchester. It's great to be with you today. We thank you for listening. And we have AJ Kierstead here from New England Take. Am I even not going to trip on that? Tell me.
It's the habit. You say it with the station all the time. NH Talk Radio, New Hampshire Talk Radio.
I got New Hampshire on the brain. New England Take, which is on Saturdays at 8:30, correct?
Correct.
And you guys want to hear this. This is a great little show. It talks a little bit about policy, politics, news here in the New England region. And AJ, I'd like to ask you a little question. New Hampshire is surrounded by very progressive states. What the heck happened? Why is New Hampshire something of a bastion of somewhat of local, what do I want to say? I don't want to say conservatism, but common sense,
It's very interesting. So Vermont's They've always been kind of like that, in my opinion. Like, they've always been this progressive. We always joke that the granola crunchers are off to the west.
But that was a big libertarian thing.
But that's what's very unique. This is the reason why I identify personally as libertarian. I vote Republican most of the time. It's not necessarily the party per se,
gotcha.
but the ideology around it is all across northern New England. Part of the reason why I specifically focus on Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine is there is a very free-thinking liberty focus behind the individual here in these states. I grew up in rural Maine. The being able to start your own business and have traditional values.
But it's not like that now in Maine.
Well, that's
painful to watch.
Politically, yes. Individually, no. And I think part of that comes down to the economy. It's been a nightmare as all the mills and everything shut down. There's this inherent thing. We see that in Appalachia, for example. It's very similar, only worse.
Yeah.
Where there's the Bernie Sanders did extraordinarily well when he was running for president down in Appalachia. There's a very socialist bent because people are sold a bill of goods.
Right.
In that, hey, we've got the solution. It's democratic socialism. It's bigger government priorities towards funneling money back to the individual. When that money's got to come from somewhere, guys.
Funneling your money back.
It's like, come on. It's like you realize that you're spending more in taxes to try and get some of your money back. It doesn't make sense.
Correct.
New Hampshire, for whatever reason, and maybe it's just the nature of the kind of the families that basically have a lot of political sway here in the state. Like you talk about the Sununus and say will about the Shaheens, but the Pappas family and stuff like that. They're very Democrat, but they care a lot more about the individual. When you meet these people, when you talk to especially I've met Congressman Pappas a few times, and I've said my fair share about Goodlander in the previous election. But when you meet them and how their constituent services talk to people, it's a lot more focused on the individual. It's not. And maybe I'm wrong on that. It's just very anecdotal, but
everybody says that. I think you're right in regard to New Hampshire. Yeah. Federal representatives, exactly. Everybody says that they are very good for constituent service.
And there's a big support of business. And there's big support of wanting to make sure that businesses are able to function and get the resources
they need. But why
wouldn't
wouldn't they have that in Maine, for instance, or Vermont?
Honestly,
it's weird.
It's very interesting when you see the influx of people over the last 15, 20 years that have gone to the states, because in New Hampshire we constantly get the scapegoat of the free staters. They're the ones that have come here and turned this ship in this direction. This is not the case. New Hampshire's always been this way. Right. This is not new. There's a reason why I moved down here. I went to college at Franklin Pierce 2006 to 2010, and I saw it back then before the free staters really got a foothold in anything.
Yeah, that's just a narrative they want to try to drive.
They're a scapegoat. Right. This state is extremely. I've had very fortunate to be able to travel various parts of the state and hear conversations with people. Stay Work Play, for example, recently did this. Policy and Pints tour across the state and had conversations with people in these communities. So the Lakes region, the Seacoast, the Monadnock, Nashua, Concord, all over the place. Like 6 different spots. Each one of them is very different, but a majority of them have this love of their community, are there because they love their community, and they're not looking for change. Nashua, no, total opposite. That was hilarious. I'm so happy I said it on the Nashua one, because they're Massachusetts people culturally.
They came up.
Very much. But anywhere north of that part of the state.
You think Manchester too?
I didn't have a chance to see that one, but the fact that they voted Jay Rouet in there, in the past, they have had Republicans in the governor's office and stuff. Like Joe Kelly, as bonkers as he is, he has a lot of sway in that town. And there's this. It's a different sort of thing where they don't exactly expect the government to just provide everything, and they're wanting to have honest solutions. Yeah. When you look at Maine, southern Maine is where a majority of the people live. They have an extraordinary sway on the politics of that state.
Yes, they do.
To where the money is, everything is in the greater Portland area, and they are completely taken over by socialists. Yeah. You see what's happened in Portland over the last decade, and the city council meetings are the most unhinged things you'll ever see. I don't care if you're a Democrat. If you don't see that as crazy,
they don't.
I
have a lot of family in that area, and you know what? I've tried to sort of broach.
Yeah.
I don't really get into it because it gets crazy, and it's just not worth it to me. Yeah. But they absolutely do not see that, and it is crazy in Portland.
Yeah, and
the politics.
My family's further up. My in-laws are very different from my family politically. They're very much aligned with me politically, and there's a lot of this kind of
what do they think about Portland?
I think it's off the rails. I think it's nuts.
So most of the state understands what's going on.
They must, but the Democrats have just done a great job organizing up there. I don't understand. I wish I really had a good answer as to why.
They had a governor for a while that was very conservative. Paul, what was his name?
But he was nuts.
Yeah, he was a little crazy.
That's the issue. Is that we keep getting these conservatives in office that are
did good
polarized.
things with the economy and stuff.
He did, but you say so much nonsense. It makes the polarization. It's the same thing as we see with Trump.
Yeah.
You can't take a Trump mentality to a position of leadership in northern New England politics from the right and expect it not to backfire, in my opinion.
So you think it was just his crazy talk?
It's crazy talk. It's crazy talk because
the policies were good.
You activate the left by being crazy.
Okay.
And I see it right.
But they're crazy too.
Oh yeah. But the left has a much better job of activating the grassroots.
Yes, they do.
100%.
Typically.
Because conservatives, it's like, why the hell are these people protesting again? Why does this? Why are they shouting? Because it goes against their nature of how they view their community. It's not centered around
the politics of it.
It's centered around family or church or community organizations or their job or their business that they have. And that's...
Wow.
There's this huge cultural separation between the two, with the grassroots being able to organize it. Americans for Prosperity in New Hampshire, it's done a heck of a job trying to change that. And they've supported a lot of candidates in here. Partially, the momentum of the Free State Project has been productive in regards to the conservative movement. And I think at this point, a lot of the crazier of them have kind of lost their positions of power.
You're right about you're absolutely right on what you're saying. So it's interesting on how New Hampshire has been able to stave off what is essentially up until, I don't know, I'm not as looped in as I was. Why did New Hampshire be able to withstand all of that organizing, as a state? Because they killed us in Massachusetts. I mean, Massachusetts is like gone. I'm from Massachusetts. Even the Republican little communities, right? They're solid leftists, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Vermont and Maine. So how did we withstand that?
Maybe it's because a majority of our Republican leadership has just fended off the crazy. They're called squishes all the time. You see Chris Sununu as governor. He was constantly getting called out by the right. Mm-hmm. But that's the kind of Republicans statewide we want in office when it comes to that. Federal delegation is totally different. It's a totally different can of worms. But when you look at the nature of how Sununu was so successful, he made sure to give enough to the Democrats to make them feel like they were heard, and raised enough of a vocal fuss against the crazier people in the Republican Party to at least be able to have a sway in the right direction. And I think a lot of it comes down to leadership like that. That's huge because, I mean, you look back to when Hassan was in office, I think we were really on the precipice. It was before the momentum of the progressive movement really took hold in many states. Mm-hmm. So there were always Democrats, but this progressive movement is very, very different.
Absolutely.
The Democratic Socialist experiment that we see in New York, that won't play well.
No, but it's coming, and people better be paying attention because there's going to be a lot to see there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we're going to take a little break here. New Hampshire Unscripted. Ray Dudley is usually your host. Jane Cormier, I'm helping out Ray today with hosting, but stay with us because we're coming back with AJ Kierstead, WKXL 1450 AM, 103.9 FM Concord, and 101.9 FM in Manchester. Be right back. Hello, everybody. Jane Cormier here, and the show is New Hampshire Unscripted. Ray Dudley is usually your host. You know that, but I'm helping out Ray for a little bit. I'm going to be, hosting for him while he takes a little break. So, hi, Ray. And we want to, again, give a shout out to Big Dog Sauce, who is the sponsor for Hillsborough. It's in Hillsborough, but is the sponsor for New Hampshire Unscripted. All righty, so there you go. We have a guest today, AJ Kierstead, and he is the host here on WKXL's New England Take, which is Saturday mornings at 8:30. And it's a really, really great little show that brings policy, politics, and news together in a way that's fun and but listens to both sides and is kind of like common sense centered, which is pretty novel these days. I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking about a whole different thing, a whole different, conceptual thing about politics in New England. And in the last segment, we were asking the question, why New Hampshire has been able to sort of be the one bastion of common sense in the New England region. And I guess you were telling us that it's because we've been able to fend off for whatever reason, more community-oriented family or thinking. We've been able to fend it off. But, we stopped the segment when we were talking about what's happening in New York and how the Democratic progressives are really in the news right now. What do you think is going to happen there?
I think it's going to go okay for a bit because of the excitement. Okay. It's Mamdani, the movement. He say what you will about his politics. He's an extraordinarily skilled politician. He knows how to play the game. So much of politics is PR and how you come across, and he's charming as hell. He went to the White House and they were joking, and Trump was like, "Oh, I don't." He's a little. He said some things, and Mamdani passed him on the back. So you say it, it's fine. He's a progressive weirdo. He said that it was. He's got that charm and charisma that really does well. And when you meld in a population in New York City that is seeing really economic challenges, especially coming out of COVID, because they, by the way, shut down the city for 3 years. By the way, not productive.
Yeah,
when you lock down rent to the point where landlords are like, it's not viable for me to continue doing this. They just let them go to shambles with rent control and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
It's that glimmer of hope. It's that the Obama personality, that movement. I have the solutions, and I'm going to come at it with a smile on my face, and I'm going to say, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this is going to fix your issues, because they have a young, motivated base that is ready to go, especially in this Trump world where they're already not happy with what's happening in D.C. And, hey, I got this local guy. He's saying we're going to fix the rent. We're going to do this or that. And we're going to get free groceries. We're going to city grocery stores.
Free childcare. Free housing.
Oh, my gosh.
Free.
It sells with a city population that's already prone to being of the left.
It sells with a population that is horrifically uneducated.
Yes. Or actually overeducated.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, that's
a good population,
the indoctrination that you get in higher education institutes of we need these liberal arts degrees that are about theories of everything, and say we need to protect these underserved populations, whatever that means.
True.
I saw when I was in college back almost 20 years ago at this point, it was the same exact thing, and it's my generation on, it has really been brainwashed into these sort of ideals. Yeah. And when you have someone who preys on those ideals, I will say pray, because I think ultimately this is, he may think he's doing the good thing, but I think he's going to be catastrophe for
very thoughtfully
many
done.
aspects of it. Yeah. It's a problem, and we need to make sure that it stays there.
So here's a hypothesis I'll throw at you, and looking at the whole picture. What we're seeing in Minneapolis, for instance, we saw that the system was totally bilked and corrupt, and we know it's happening in many other states, right? Our taxpaying dollars being thrown down the toilet and then told us, you sit down and shut up. I think it's a blueprint. Mm-hmm. And I think Mamdani is very important to the left because he's the face, like you said, charming guy. Yep. And they've put a lot of effort and push into getting him into that seat in that big city, the biggest city, right, in our country, isn't it?
And if he's able to have a modicum of success, I don't think he needs to succeed on 90% of the things. Right.
But if he has something.
If he has 10%, you look at what AOC was able to do in D.C. with her movement, with the squad, the rest of the squad all failed for the most part except for her. because she did enough to get in the door and play the game and do backroom deals with Nancy Pelosi and eventually work her way through. It's going to be the same thing for Mamdani.
Right.
He's going to run for governor or he's going to run for federal office.
Of course.
This is the stepping stone.
It is.
If he's there for more than 3-4 years, I'd be shocked because he's going to jump in
soon, and he'll jump sooner than later for sure. But see, that's always what's happened. The thing that I think that it's new is that they floated this out there. I really believe this. In the back room, they figured, okay, we're going to put all the money and train, and we're going to put this guy out there, right? And we're going to see what happens, because that modicum of success will become a blueprint for how we can now move this progressive Dems left, more left, in other states.
And we see it, and you talk about Minnesota and all the craziness that's happening over there.
How crazy?
It's being portrayed as a success. Yeah. That just the fact, once again, that 10%, you got that 10%, they motivated and got people in the streets and doing these things, speaking out against a extraordinarily messy deportation effort. It's a mess.
Change is messy.
Change is very messy, and the way it was fast tracked, I think, has been very problematic when it comes to properly having people boots on the ground that know what the hell they're doing.
Hey, listen, it's very easy to point to that, but you know what? It was an emergency to get on it.
Yes.
And were mistakes being made? Absolutely. Tell me, where in this world do we have utopia?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing with the progressives. They believe in a utopia where everything's going to happen cleanly. We're going to have open borders. Nice? We're going to have police police are the only ones that are supposed to have the guns.
Right.
But God forbid they use the guns as opposed to an individual that has a gun, and then there's massive hypocrisy and inconsistencies in the progressive movement, obviously, in my opinion. But when you see their ability to activate and have this movement and all this mainstream press when it comes to what's happening out there, it's huge, and it's gonna Waltz. So
what's the answer?
Is out. The answer is we continue to show in states like New Hampshire, and we hopefully can take back Maine, because I think honestly it can go the other way if they're given the right solutions. I think people are really mad at Janet Mills, and I don't think Shanna Bellows is really going to be very successful in her run. The craziness around the Graham Plattner versus Janet Mills race, which is probably all for naught because Collins is probably going to continue to be in office anyways. Once again, comes down to those relationships.
I know it.
Collins is very much like our Democrat federal delegation. They're great on the ground. Yeah. And that goes a long way.
It does. I'm not sure that I don't know. I'm not sure in how much the progressives have gained ground recently, that the answer is anything but trying to be active in your state and have states' rights be big enough to overtake this monster that's in facing us. Fight on the state level to keep your state strong.
Yeah. And some of it could be some third-party stuff. I had a good conversation with the state chair for the Constitution Party, which is a recent, I think they were about 4 years ago. They introduced themselves to the state, and it's very much the conservative libertarian sort of feel, Constitution focus for it. You see the excesses of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire is crazy, but they're kind of driving the narrative in a less focused on the kind of corrupt nature of the main party, of the Republican Party, and pushing more into freedom focus nature of it.
Which most of them have done anyway.
Yeah, we need to be able to show that, and New Hampshire needs to continue to have its majority at the state level. Yeah, we need to continue to have this. We can have whatever. We don't have that many seats in the federal delegation. I don't really care that much personally. Yeah. What our delegation is doing.
I really do care, but you're right. It's not as important as the state.
It's not as important. I wish it did. Obviously, go the other way, and I'm gonna say, hey, Johnny, good luck, boss. I hope you get it. But. We need to continue to show that Republicans can lead in a consistent, not hypocritical way, and give enough occasionally to say, hey, Portland, Maine's nuts. They want this. We're going to give them this so they can do their thing, but we're going to, in Augusta, fix what we have going on. Yeah. Because that's key, because there's enough individuals that believe in individual liberty and being able to live their life the way they see fit, that we can turn it around. It just takes time. David Jones, I spoke to him. He's running for governor. He's a solid candidate
take time.
Up there.
Yep. It does take time. Individual liberty, fighting for that, I think really is the key. Keeping our state strong. Thank you, AJ Kierstead.
Thank
he is
you.
the host, New England Take, Saturdays, 8:30, right here on WKXL, New Hampshire Talk Radio. And I want to thank everybody for listening today. New Hampshire Unscripted, WKXL 1450 AM, 103.9 FM Concord, and 101.9 FM in Manchester. Stay safe out there. Have a great day, and thanks again.